Hello and welcome to this presentation about modernizing existing data windows and reports. So we want to create modern graphs while at the same time leveraging the data windows for data access logic. So at the end, we want to basically add animated graph to any existing data window you're already using. This will allow to enrich not only the UI of your particular application, but also your reports. You will implement the graph as a presentation layer on top of your existing data windows. And you will combine, on one hand, the power of HTML and JavaScript technologies to create the graph and animate it and all the beautiful modern graph you can see now on the web with a 4GL approach, which means you do not have to write code, but instead you would easily create and design the graph with a painter that we provide, and that is going with the popular ID. This painter, as you can see here, there's a quick look, but we'll take a closer look a bit later. On the left side, you have a list of data windows and graphs. In the center, a preview, and on the right, you would get tab pages with all the attributes that you can set. And all in all, it's a similar behavior that all the painters you would see in Power Builder, where you define things graphically and set the attributes and get a result without coding. So first of all, you define the aspect and the behavior of the graph, what's happening when you're hovering, clicking, etc. You would apply this graph to an existing data window. You can save all these attributes as a template if you like in order to apply it to as many data windows as you like anytime. So that allows to modernize a large number of data windows in a very short amount of time. What's the process of creating a new chart? A few steps that we're going to see in live in a few minutes. This process is meant to be quite simple and actually similar to created standard graph data windows. First of all, as a data source, you will select the existing data window you wish to modernize. Then you would design the graphical part of the chart with the painter we just mentioned. You would then take the chart and add it to a window and set its graph object attribute, pretty much like you would set the data object attribute of a data window control. Then you would call the set transObject function to link the graph to the database. And finally, you would call the retrieve function to retrieve the data. Pretty much straightforward. Okay, let's see how it's working. Okay, let's create an example of graph with this sample application. So I created an empty window in this small application. And this is where we are going to place the graph that we will create. So I can close it for now. And instead of reusing an existing data window, we'll create a simple one together so that you can see what's inside. So I will pass a simple SQL. This data window will retrieve some sales data from the sample database, grouped by year to represent them simply. And for now, I'm going to simply copy and paste the SQL. Okay. Then I need to enter a retrieval argument. That's going to be the year. Okay, and I can finish the creation. Enter a year to give it a try, see if the data is coming. All right. Then we're going to give it a name, like the example data source. All right. Now I need to add a presentation layer to this data window, and for that I will open the painter that we mentioned just before. Okay, so on the left side, you can see the PBL of my application with some existing graphs. And on the right side, first of all, I'm going to select the type of graph, and then the library where I can find the data source data window and the data source data window itself. Okay, then I need to enter an example of a retrieval argument for the preview and choose the label column, horizontal axis. Then choose the value column, vertical axis. Here we go. So now I'm going to improve a few cosmetic details. First of all, let's select the color panel. Let's take the blue one. And I need to improve the label that appear here. I want to place them on the top. So I'm going to global configuration, and then I will select in display this value. And right. Now I want to remove the legend because there's only one set of data here, so I don't need it. So let's go to legend and uncheck display. All right. Now I will add a title. So going to the title section and enter like sales chart. Okay. Then I will save my data window in this PBL. And I will name it graph example. Okay. Now let's place this new graph in the window. So I'm back to Power Builder. This is my library in which I will find the new graph I just created, and below the window, the empty window where I will place the new graph. So let's open this window. And I will place in the window the Power Chart control. I need to select the library and the new control, the Power Chart control, this one. Okay. Place it in the window properly. And on the right, I will define as a graph object the chart that I just created, your example. Right. Now I need to retrieve the data into my new graph. So in the constructor event, I will use the setTransObject function to connect to the database. Okay. And then in the UE init, I will do a simple retrieve. In both cases, it's quite similar to the operation we normally do with any data window. Then I need to enter as a value for the retrieve argument and save. Let's take a look. So we're back in the sample application, and now we can see the chart with the data coming. Now I need to define the resize. So let's go back to the resize event, and I'm going to pass an instruction to do that. Save and run again. And now we're good. If I resize the window, the chart is automatically resized as well. You can see the labels, you can see the tooltip appearing. Everything is plugged properly. Let's go back to the Power Chart Painter to take a look at the different type of charts. So first of all, you would see in the PBL that is coming with Power Chart, there's already a number of graph available. It's a set of attributes for each type of graph that you can use as template if you like. But you can also customize your own settings and attributes and save them as new templates. This is how you will apply that to several data windows. So we have a bar chart. Then this is another bar chart, but it's grouped with several data sets. This is a bubble. Then we have donuts. There is a horizontal bar. Again, grouped with several data sets for each value. This one is horizontal but stacked, cumulated. Then we have lines. And instead of just lines, we can also fill the area if you want to display in the form of areas. So you can choose for which data set the graph will fill the area. So for example, this one, like this. Then we have a pie chart and a polar chart and a radar. Now let's take a look at what is called here multi-chart. It's a template where we define different type of chart together. You can add as many charts as you like, and it will appear here. There is in this tab page. You see here we have two charts defined, and you with the arrows you can switch from one to the other, and each one has its own data source and settings, and you can accumulate them like that in the same chart if you like. So we've been using a number of properties. Let's take a look. You see that in the painter, properties are grouped into tabs. Let's highlight a few of them that you might use frequently. Number one, in the axis tab, this is where you can change the position of the axis, if you want them on top or below the graph on the left, right, etc. This is where you can indicate whether the bar graph should be stacked or not. There's a checkbox that you can check. And also, this is where you can adjust the label of the scale, that is appearing just under the axis if needed. Then the dataset tab is also very important. If you have several series in your graph, each of them will appear as an independent dataset, like different cities that are grouped in a bar chart, for example. And for each series, each set of data, you will specify some settings. In particular, for the representation, you would choose a color set and a few other details. And in this example, we have we have defined these settings for 5 different data sets, and you can switch from one data set to another with the small arrows on the right. And finally, there are some, we can mention some global configuration properties. Uh, Obviously, you probably want to specify the title of the graph. This is going to be in the global configuration. You can also, very important, specify the behavior of the pop-up. The small pop-up that appear when you're hovering a certain value on the graph, how they behave, what they look like, what is the font used, etc. And in case you intend to print the graph, then there's also a few other settings that you can specify. Speaking of which, let's take a look at printing the graph we created. So there are basically two strategies as usual with Power Builder. You can either use the print function, and then you can specify the print quality with the painter. But in most cases, you probably want to include the graph in a Power Builder report. So you will create a nested report, and in this nested report, you will include a picture that you will modify dynamically with the code that is listed here, where you create a variable and you generate a PNG file with the chart power chart control, and you update your picture with the PNG file that has been created. Printing is one use case amongst others. So let's take a look at other use cases. First of all, you can create several graphs and assemble them in a window to create a dashboard. And then you get a very good looking and animated dashboard with different graphs displayed side by side. You can implement drill down features, and we'll take a closer look a bit later in this presentation at this use case where the user can navigate from one graph to another with a double click, for example. You can modify the graph dynamically. So Power Graph includes two similar functions, like in the data window, modify and describe, that allows to adapt and change dynamically by program the graph. You can implement a master detail relationship either between two graphs, like when the user is clicking on graph number one in a particular value, then graph number two is updated with a master detail relationship, or the detail can be a tabular data window, for example, or whatever you like. And finally, you can export the graph to a website. So basically, you would take the JavaScript code that is generated, and you would save it somewhere in a file or in a database and load it whenever you like on your network, and you will get all the feature, animation, tooltip, pop-ups, etc., that are in the Power Chart. So if we come back to the sample application, we can see a few examples of these advanced features. So here, let's start with a report. So I've been creating a report. In this report, I have a tabular window, and below, I've been placing a Power Chart. And like we said, automatically, dynamically, Power Chart will generate an image that it will be updated in the report, and as a result, the user can print the report with both data window and chart. Then I have an example of a dashboard. It's a window where we placed a different chart side by side. So you see the animation, which is quite good looking when the dashboard is opening. And also we've been implementing some drill down feature to navigate from one chart to another. So if I'll double click on one particular region, I will see the detail of this region in a second window that is opening, like a second dashboard per region. That's one example. Another example here, per year. This is a graph where if I double click on a given year, I will have another dashboard decomposing the cells for each year. And finally, I will take a quick look at the dynamic modification of a chart. I'm using the modify function we mentioned before. So I can pretty much modify anything. In this case, we chose to modify the color, but any attribute can be dynamically modified. Okay, now let's create a second example to illustrate the drill down feature. So we'll start from scratch, create a dedicated application. And in this application, we will create two windows with two charts, one opening the other. First, let's start with creating a data window. It's going to be a grid. And I will copy and paste a SQL where I will retrieve and group sales information by region. There we go. Then I will add the retrieval argument, which is going to be the year. Now I need to finish the data window. Give it a try. Okay, the data are coming. And I will save it as the data store sales by region. Now let's import the second one to save some time, because creating the data window itself, it's just business as usual. And in the second one, if I enter a couple credential, it's going to be the year and the region. I should see the data, because the second one would give us the detail of a particular region that we will use for drill down from region to a lower detail where we see the sales per city. So I have my two data windows here, sales by region and sales by city in the PBL of my new application. So now I'm going to create a chart. So this is the PBL of my application. This is where I will select my data store number one. So for the first chart, we're going to use a pie chart. And this is going to rely on the data source, sales by region, with a retrieval argument 2004 for the preview. I will specify the label column for the horizontal axis and the sales for the values. Then I will customize a bit this chart with a color code, color panel. Let's take the blue. I'm going to give it a title, sales by region. For a particular year. And I will use the retrieve argument to update dynamically the year in the title. And here we go. You can see that the data are coming with the tooltips. So now I will edit the format of the values here, because it's a currency, so I will use this particular format, which is better looking. And I will save this new graph, this new chart. It will appear in my PBL. Let's call it sales by region. I will create a new chart for the second window, sales by city. I will pick this data window from the same PBL, enter the retrieval argument. I need two of them this time. So the retrieval argument for per chart are always strings separated by a comma. I select the label column, which is going to be the city because it's grouped by city. And the values, horizontal axis, are still be the sales, obviously. We'll do some customization. You can see that the resize is already coded. Let's pick a color panel, this green one. Now I need to create a title. Let's go to the section title and enter here sales by city of the region. And then I will use a retrieve argument to dynamically update the title for the region and the year. So in this case, I use both retrieval arguments. Okay. Typo. Yeah, looks good. I want to format the number because it's a currency with the dollar sign, etc., to make it look better. And that seems okay. So I will save it and name it gr sales by city. Okay. And now I can see the second chart in my PBL. So now I will come back to the Power Builder IDE and I will create my two windows, one for the sales by region, the other one for the sales by city. And I will code the drill down feature to open the sales by city when selecting a particular region in the sales by region window. I can close this one. Don't need it for now. And I will refresh the PBL with F5 to see the two graphs I just created with the painter. Now I will add a library that we provide with all the component and code required to use the charts. Now it's included in the library list of my application. Okay. Now we'll add a couple global variable that will be required. And in the open event, I will first of all add some code to connect to the database, and also I need to initiate the engine of the graph right here. Okay, I can save. And I will start creating the windows. So first I will add a power chart control. It's a user object. From the library we provide. Here we go. Place it properly and name it sales by region. Then I will specify a graph object, pretty much like you would specify a data object in the data window. And here, this is where we specify the data source of the chart. So this is going to be sales by region as well, with a gr prefix. And in the constructor event, I will add some code to connect to the database with a set transobject function. It's again like a standard data window. And in the UE init event, I will code the retrieve to get the data from the database. We'll add the parameter. So with part chart, all parameters are strings. If you have several parameters, they will be comma separated. So now in the resize event, I will call the resize function. Okay. Then I will add the title, sales by region. And I will save it also as W sales by region. Okay, now in the open event of my application, I will open this window. Open sales by region. Save and give it a try. See how that works. Good. I can see my chart appearing and the resize is working as expected. Now let's add the second window. So actually to save some time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the first window and save it as sales by city. Then I will modify the title, sales by city again. And I will change the graph object. Again, sales by city. Same for the name of this control. I also have to update the resize event to resize the proper control. And this window will have one argument, which is the region, because when we open this second window, we want to see the cities for this particular region, so we need to get the argument. So I will create an instance variable to store the value of the region, is region, and I will use it in the open event of the window. To get the value of the region for which I will show the cities. And finally, I will update the retrieve, because so far I only had one parameter. Now I need to add two of them, which is the region, by using the instance variable I just created. I need to add the comma to separate the two values, and we should be good to go. Save. And I need to add some code to open this second window, sales by city, when I will double click on the first window, sales by region. And I will need to pass the region argument to the second window to open the proper details on that region. Okay, so Let's open this sales by region window, and I will open the double-click event of the Power Chart control. So you can see that this event has 3 arguments. The first one is the label, the second the value. That's basically the X and Y for the values that you want to open in the chart. And optionally, you can use the series if you have several data sets. But for now, we just need the label, which is going to be the region in our case. So open with Palm, W sales by city. And I will just pass the label as argument. So I can use here either the double click, like in our case, when I double click to drill down and open a second value, but I could also use the clicked event, in which case it's not for drilling down, but it's more to create a master detail relationship between, for example, a chart and a grid data window, or between 2 graphs. Can save this. Okay, let's try the drill down. If I run, this is my sales by region, and if I double click somewhere, let's make it a bit bigger. If I double click here, I see the detail of this region with my second window, sales by city. Seems okay. The data are coming, the pop-up are displayed. If I give it a second try with Canada, for example, and open the details of the sales for Canada, then I can see that the detail is coming as well. Good. The drill down is working fine. So we're almost done with our presentation. So what are the key takeaways? First of all, well, with this presentation, we saw how to create modern chart without coding using the dedicated painter that we saw before. Leverage any existing data window as data source, and at the same time modernize their presentation by adding the chart as a presentation layer on top of the existing data window. Save a chart as a template once you're satisfied with the details, the colors, the attribute, the animations, etc. And then you can apply this template to as many data windows as you like to modernize a large series of them in a very short amount of time. Integrate chart in your application with a few simple instructions that are actually quite similar to the traditional data window manipulation, set round subject, retrieve, connect, etc. Print charts and also, of course, modernize existing PB reports. You can also create a good looking animated dashboard by simply creating a window and assembling several animated charts that you open anytime whenever the user would need, maybe for example when you open the application or when the user wants to have an overview of different important data. And finally, implement drill down feature to navigate from one chart to another and let user explore their data in a modern way, but directly from within the Power Builder application. So this is all relying on a control that is called the Power Chart. Power Chart is part of a control library called Ultimate Suite. So in case you want to give it a try, let me add a few words to explain briefly what Ultimate Suite is about. You can combine, of course, easily both Power Builder control and Ultimate Suite control. Both of them are relying on the concept of themes, and Ultimate Suite themes are aligned with the Power Builder ones. So if you choose a particular theme for Power Builder, you just choose the same for Ultimate Suite, and you get a consistent UI, and all the control will have the same look and feel, presentation, detail, behavior, etc. Number two, what's including in the box in case you want to try Ultimate Suite. So you have a number of UI controls. You also have a library of charts, gauges, You have some free open source icon libraries, and you have some tools for customizing the chart and the control. If you want to find more about Power Builder and the Power Builder themes, of course, you can get lots of resources out there that you probably know. If you want to find more about Ultimate Suite, you can check out the website here where you will find all the component inside. The tools are here. The free icons are there. For each control, you can get more details to see what it looks like and some key properties. And if you download a copy, then it comes with guides and tutorial to take you by the hand and implement them in your application. Good. I guess I just have to thank you for all for joining this presentation today, and let us know if you have questions. We'll be around to answer them. Thanks again for your time today. Bye-bye.